We're happy to present our real-world experience with Teclistamab, a BCMA-targeted bispecific agent in relapsed refractory myeloma. So we're presenting our single institution retrospective analysis that included patients that were treated between the time of its approval in October 2022 up through August 15, 2023, including all patients that had completed the step-up dosing. And we did include patients in our safety and survival analysis that had passed away due to progression or toxicity prior to the 30-day assessment, which ended up including 56 patients in total. Of those 56, 20 had received prior BCMA-targeted products, with 13 receiving prior BCMA CAR and 13 receiving prior BCMA antibody drug conjugate. In regards to what we saw, in regards to our demographics, as compared to Majestic-1, the registration trial that led to the FDA approval of Teclistamab, we saw that our patients overall were sicker. They had a higher burden of disease. More patients were ISS stage 2 or 3. We had more patients that had extramedullary disease, 24 in total. We had a greater number of patients with high-risk cytogenetics, 49% as compared to 29% with Majestic, and patients that had CNS involvement, as well as renal insufficiency defined by a creatinine clearance less than 40 mL per minute. We also saw within that, comparing our patient population that had received prior BCMA targeted products as compared to those that had not, more patients had an ECOG status of 1, so slightly better performance status than we'd expect, which is concurrent or conclusive with the need for patients getting BCMA targeted products that have a slightly better performance status. However, they were also more heavily pretreated. Our BCMA cohort had received a median 9 prior lines of therapy as opposed to 6 in our overall cohort. So in regards to safety with our Teclistamab experience, we saw very similar safety signals compared to the Majestic-1 trial. We had about 51.8% of any grade cytokine release syndrome seen, with only 1 grade 3 toxicity in that proportion. And we saw actually fewer neurotoxicity events, only 1 patient with a documented neurotox, and no grade 3 or higher neurotoxicity events, despite having patients with more CNS disease. In regards to our response statistics, we saw an overall response rate of 53.6% across our total cohort, although that did decrease. And when you look at the prior BCMA-treated cohort, down to 45%, largely owing to patients with prior BCMA CAR-T therapy with a response rate close to 31%. We also saw a decrease in response rate in patients with extramedullary disease of 37.5%. In regards to our total cohort, we saw a median progression-free survival of 4.7 months. And when we look at BCMA naive versus treated, that was 4.8 months in the BCMA naive, as opposed to 4 months in those that had received prior BCMA targeted therapies. That being said, we still do see an infection signal with BCMA-targeted bispecific agents. We had 37 infections in 26 patients. Nearly half of those infections that were grade 3 or higher or required inpatient hospitalization and management. So still something that we need to address in our patient population. But overall, we saw responses that were very similar to the Majestic-1 trial, and look forward to presenting more data in the future of correlative studies looking at cytotoxic T-cell components and immune cell subset fitness in the future.